Hello, career thought leaders. Today we're going to be talking about the economy and what we can do to help clients find those bright spots. And I'm going to talk about a few different data sources and things that we're finding in the market. And then we're also going to talk about some of the situations I'm hearing from some of you. And if you have thoughts or questions, always drop those in the chat. And even if you're watching the replay, we do come back and read those and can incorporate them into a future live. So we go live here on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook every Tuesday, Trend Tuesday Live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. I love those of you in Australia who get up early to chat with us, and those of you who stay up late in Germany and the UK. It's so much fun to see folks across the globe, both live as well as commenting on the replays. And you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notified of when we go live and to watch all of the recorded sessions. All of the past live sessions are available on the live tab. So what is going on in the labor market? It is a little helter-skelter, a little everywhere. I thought it was interesting. So I was preparing for the presentation that I did last Friday at the University of Florida's recruiter kickoff event for the fall hiring season. And we were looking at some of the data, and it was very validating to hear from them that they're seeing what the data says. So we've been talking about the Ashby data for I think about a year. It's been out for about a year. The 3 times to 4 times increase in application volume over the last 2 years, right? Starting 2023, 2024, just that huge jump in applications per open position. And the recruiters in the room were seeing that. Well, then as I was digging into the tech tools, because we were talking about recruiter tech tools that they could use, and we were talking about all of those, and I wanted to do a little bit of research of how many recruiters are using tools, right? So one of the reports I found, I don't know that it really had anything to do with tech, but it was a SHRM report from 2024 talking about how, yes, we're seeing this increase in applications, but 60% of employers are having a hard time filling roles. So before we dive into some of the economic data, I just wanted to pull up this visual and have a very practical conversation about some of the things that we can do to help these individuals get through some of these barriers. So, it helps employers and it helps our clients when we think about, okay, there's this mismatch, or there are these things that recruiters want to see that they're not seeing. And how can we help them? How can we help our clients fill that gap? I'll bring up the visual. Then I've got a few other things that aren't on the visual that we'll talk about as well. Okay, so here is the visual from SHRM 2024, just some of their research that they did. These are reasons why people are having a hard time hiring. So top row, they're missing credentials or certifications. So if you have clients that want to work in healthcare, social assistance, this is one of the growing areas, especially for young people. How can we help them go and get that certificate, get that entry-level work credential that they need before they apply here? And when we think about researching, figuring out what those things really are that they need so that they can plug in. Same thing with government and education. We're just doing the research on the latest economic numbers. Education was one of government and education were one of the biggest safe spots. They said, I don't know, they didn't call it growth, but I was like, well, that doesn't make sense to me, right? So tell me more. And it turned out that it was school systems for the most part in June. So, the June numbers were really positive economics in the US. That's great. But I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And so I dug deeper, and what it said was that actually the numbers were positive in June because education didn't lay off as many people as they usually lay off in June. So it wasn't like growth in education, it was less layoffs than usual, which is still a positive thing, right? It means that there may be some job openings in that space. But do our clients have the credentials that they need to get those jobs. And that's something that we can help them research and explore, because this is one of those areas where employers are having a hard time finding people. All right, second row then, technical skills are missing in applicants for manufacturing. Professional, technical, scientific, that's kind of a big category there. And then construction, utilities, agriculture, mining. So these are areas that, again, are having a hard time hiring. If our client's interested in those, this is a place where we can dig in, do some research. What are the gaps, and what could my client do to fill those gaps? LinkedIn, like LinkedIn Explorer, as well as the LinkedIn, other tools, LinkedIn Learning can be a good thing for that. And then, using a research tool like Perplexity can be great to just help identify what are the common requirements right now in some of these jobs, gather some job descriptions, and figure out what are the gaps our clients need. And then the last one, I posted this today on LinkedIn, and someone commented, it's silly that ghosting has this high of a rate here. These industries are experiencing a lot of ghosting. Now, when I was doing my research for this, here's what I'm wondering. So these industries say that they get ghosted by candidates, but what I saw in the research we were sharing with these recruiters to talk about the candidate experience and those types of things, right? Getting the best talent, the top talent's always in high demand. So when we were talking about that, we looked at 70%, 72% of candidates drop out because it takes too long. And so I'm wondering if the candidate's perception is you're taking too long, so I'm dropping out. And the recruiter's perspective or hiring people's perspective is you ghosted me. I would kind of bet that there's some overlap there that's happening. Now, what can we help our clients do about that? We can help them be the persistent person that stays, that communicates, that waits. Yeah, it stinks. But what I'm seeing is there's a huge percentage of your competition that's dropping off just because the program is taking too long, the process is taking too long. And if we simply persist and stay in contact and have good communication, we may rise to the top just because we stick around. I don't think that's the best thing for the employer all the time, but it could be a good thing for our candidate. It's kind of one of those things, right? That you can have all the skills in the world, but these are the gaps that really aren't hard. They're showing up. Can we help our clients be that client who shows up and continues and persists even though it stinks and they're frustrated? I bet that the employer is frustrated on the other side too, because they're jumping through all these hoops or having to get a million people to agree to a time and those types of things. So if we can help our clients stay engaged in the process, they will outperform 70% of their peers who drop out. And that was just a huge data point. It was 72% of candidates are dropping out because the process takes too long. Really bad. On the recruiter side, we're talking about how you could use tech tools to improve that. But on the candidate side, I think it does open up a opportunity that really doesn't take any special skills. It doesn't take any money or new certifications to just stay in contact and stay in communication and persist, even though it's frustrating. And that's something we can help clients do. We can create a strategy, have the follow-up, and we could use tech tools like a CRM or even just Boomerang. I use the Boomerang feature in Google to schedule emails, or you can return emails to yourself so you remember to send them. All of those things that make it easy to stay in contact using simple tech tools. So what else is going on in the market? One of the things we were looking at a few weeks ago was the early career market. And I saw something from Jobs of the Future, JFF, on LinkedIn, and they were talking about how unemployment for college grads in the US had increased 40% in the last few years. And I was like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't align with what I was just researching that said unemployment globally for that age group had been going down very slightly over the last few years. But the 40% yes, it's a big growth and something to look at what's going on there. But the end number after that 40% growth is 5.8%, which is way below the global average of unemployment for that age group. And so even though our US, had that growth, globally, they're still seeing the drop. So I just had to connect those two bullet points for myself because I didn't understand. But the other number it's interestingly also 40%, is that 40% of that age group in the US is underemployed. I don't remember if there was percentage on that globally, but the underemployment globally was kind of the story of that research, that yes, especially in the global South, there's not the unemployment has gotten better, but the underemployment is horrible, right? That young people all over the globe are working jobs that are not using their credentials, not using their degrees, not using their skills, not on the path to that degree, all of those things. And that is an opportunity for all of us as well. How can we help people build those bridges and those pathways from where they are to where they want to be? And I'll have to say, personal story. One of my family members got a bachelor's degree in, I think, health and exercise science, and then realized right away that it was kind of fuzzy, that there wasn't like a career path in health and exercise science. He went to grad school, whatever. There were jobs, obviously, for young grads in those fields, but it wasn't as defined as it had seemed when choosing that degree. So I actually went what you might call backwards to get a 2-year degree in physical therapy assistance to get a job doing what they wanted to do, but needed that credential or that specific training, even though they already had a bachelor's degree. And that's one of the things, again, we were talking to this group of career folks at the University of Florida. It's one of the things that we've been talking about for a while. It comes from a Harvard article from maybe 5-6 years ago, the idea of the triple threat. It's basketball season up in here. We were just watching the summer league team because there's a couple of Colorado State grads on the Sacramento Kings, and they were in the championship for the NBA Summer League. I know some of you were like, "What, Marie?" Yes, I really am that much of a basketball fan. And then, of course, the WNBA All-Star Game. And so thinking about the triple threat, which in basketball is a specific way that you stand and land with the ball so that you can shoot, dribble, or pass. And that idea, when you communicate it in the university setting, or even, high school to university to young professional, is the idea that students not only need a good degree. Yes, I know there's a lot of noise about how degree requirements are going down, but that's going to be really dependent on the economy, the specific industry, and those types of things. So they need not only that degree, but a certificate, some that special training in what they want to do, like physical therapy assistant, and the experience to be able to compete in the competitive market that we're in. And so how can we help our young people and even our mid-career changers think about how they might fill the gaps with that idea of the triple threat? So yes, you've got your degree. What specific credential, certificate, et cetera, might you need to fill the gaps? And then also, what experiences do you have that connect the dots? And that's where our mid-career changers can often struggle, is just figuring out how to communicate what they have been doing in the language of the future. So, we can look at industries that are doing well. Healthcare, kind of here and there. Home health aides is a right now, at least until the Medicare changes pretty much wipe out that career path. But right now, that is something people need, and it could be a launch into the healthcare field, even if that job category is greatly diminished. Then you've got construction still doing well. Energy, even though some of those policies are shifting, you're still seeing a growth in green energy. And then some of the other, of course, AI related jobs, those pieces are still growing. So how do we help our students and young professionals, as well as our mid-career folks who are transitioning, plug into those opportunities and find maybe the little pivot point, right? We talk about a pivot, but when you pivot, usually there's like a point, right? And that might be the degree they need to get, or a volunteer experience, or something that will help them actually hit and make that transition. And it may feel like a downward thing, right? Going from getting my bachelor's degree to getting my 2-year degree in physical therapy assistant, but it really doesn't matter as long as it gets you where you want to go. And that's the challenge. We were talking to some of our colleagues working with folks coming out of USAID. What do they do? How do they make that transition? And the 3 pillars, I don't know, there might be others, but what I think of as the 3 pillars, you've got your role, you've got the industry you're working in, and you've got the geography or remote. But for the most part, remote is so competitive right now. You've got to be you've got to be in that space for it to make sense. So if you're not going to change locations, what are your industry shifts look like, and does that mean you have to shift roles? If you really want to hold on to that role, then you might have to shift industries and or locations. And so helping people kind of prioritize and, maybe even see it as 3 bar graphs or whatever, and what is most important, and how can you shift in the area that's least important, even though it might still be important, to keep what you do need and want. And of course, we know that the less transition people make in industry and role, the better, but that's not always possible. So they might have to take that inflection point that feels like a downward movement to make that transition into something that is in demand right now, knowing that this is going to keep shifting and is going to keep changing. So we're seeing this dichotomy in the economy, where yes, there are some bright spots. There are places where employers are really having a hard time filling jobs. And then there are places where we're getting all these news of layoffs and those types of things. And our goal to really understand that, to understand the trends, to not get too caught up in job titles, which we've talked about before, right? It isn't like you have to become a home health aide. You can, what's the trend there? What's the surrounding support pieces look like? What does that mean even outside of that job title that might give me an opportunity to make a transition? And when we were talking about the USAID folks, we were brainstorming, and one of our great coaches, Monica Falkman, she was talking about if you have the opportunity to get into corporate sustainability or some of those things, and how can we help our clients think a little outside the box, and what organizations are really looking for that. So I'd love to hear from you all, what kinds of transitions you're seeing your clients make, some of those successful pivots that you've seen in the last few months that might help our colleagues or our clients think a little bit differently and creatively. We're also using, of course, AI tools to help brainstorm that. So while we were on the call and talking about that USAID transition, we then looked at, what are some of the things that ChatGPT recommends that we might check out, a list of other NGOs, other ideas that we can consider in the tangential change to help that person make a quick transition. So we have 2 things going on here that are related to this. I always love, this is one of my favorite programs when we do our AI sessions. So we just finished doing AI and career coaching and AI and resume and profiles. Tomorrow we do AI and job search and AI and interview coaching. When you purchase these micro credentials, you get access for a year to the live sessions that we're doing every quarter and to the recordings. Some people have already, they've been playing around with it. So you might zoom through the recording and get an overview, and then join us for our sandbox. So you get a year's worth of access to our monthly sandbox, where we go deeper into changes and more niche topics based on what people are interested in. So that's one of the things that we've had going on, having a lot of fun with that and giving people credentials in that AI space. We're talking about it with clients. We also have to do it ourselves. And then the other piece is the let me find it here. Starting July 30th, our social media and job search strategy. We're not just talking about LinkedIn anymore. There's so much opportunity for our colleagues and clients to connect outside and on LinkedIn. So we spend a whole, I don't know, probably almost 2 hours talking about LinkedIn job search and the strategy part behind all of social media job search. But then we do talk about the other channels. Facebook groups, awesome opportunity, how ad companies are using TikTok to recruit. So just some things that we might not have thought about that give us an open mindset to how our clients might be able to leverage social media in a different way than just build up your LinkedIn profile. Yes, that's great, but with the new API from LinkedIn about a year ago, recruiters are having a harder time searching LinkedIn without a recruiter account, and it's pushed them to other locations, which is you see this little graph here on our page for the social media job search strategist. LinkedIn has gone down, bounced back a little bit, but all these other channels are growing by recruiters and give our colleagues and our clients opportunities to build more strategy out around other channels that actually might give them a better connection, a more direct connection to employers. So those two programs are coming up soon. If you have any questions on those, let me know. And we will look forward to seeing you for our next Trend Tuesday Live. If you've got topics that you think we should cover, please let me know that. And we'd love to address your questions. And check out the YouTube channel and subscribe so you get notified every Tuesday when we go live. Thanks, everyone, and have a great week.